What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Titan Talk. Happy Monday. Hope everyone in chat is having an amazing day. We're here to talk about more Smite 2. We missed last week. Killgoon was feeling a little bit under the weather.
I have a toddler who picked up some sort of a cold at gymnastics this week and brought it home. And my voice is still a little, maybe not 100%, but I feel fine.
Right.
I'm glad to be back and talking with y'all. Sorry to miss on Friday.
Well, it's all good. Well, we got the amazing BenKnapp3D, our art director on Smite 2. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. I'm super excited. We're going to talk about some God model updates today. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ben brought along a lot of cool art to share, to talk you through what we have planned for kind of just this next wave of gods, not the full 50, but just getting through the next wave, what you guys think about the progress we're making so far, and just get some feedback.
Yeah.
And but before we get to that, I think we're going to jump into the balance and bug fixing that we've been doing.
We're going to do a rapid fire. We've patched a lot since our last show. So just to give a quick reminder to people about all the stuff that we've gone through over the past few days. So our last show was on the 9th. And then I've got quickly patch notes up here. On the 10th, we did some bug fixes, fixed a lot of crashes, fixed an issue with Baron's Omni where you couldn't crit, and the issue with Baron's Brew, people being able to buy Baron's Brew if the Baron wasn't on their team. And then on the next day, we did a pretty significant balance patch here on the 11th. More bug fixes, of course, but Lermy was here on that Wednesday. She said Anubis was going to be on the docket for some nerfs.
And maybe still needs a little more.
Maybe a little bit more, yeah. But yeah, we had some Anubis nerfs go live, some Neith nerfs, Hades buffs, Bellona buff, Mordred buffs. Kernanos got some buffs.
The big Mordred one, I think, to call out is the increased turn control. Because a lot of people felt like while he was ulting, it was too easy to just barely miss somebody who backsteps or something. So now you have a little bit more control. So let us know how that's feeling, if it needs a little bit more, if you think it's the right level of fair. Like, you should be able to juke it, but it shouldn't be easy jukes.
Exactly, yeah. Also had some item changes here. Phantom Shell getting a nerf. Had some feedback that was feeling a little bit too potent. And then some magical attack speed intelligence items getting some buffs too. So particularly targeting, characters like Soul or characters like Kernanos who like to build intelligence but attack speed as well. Just making those builds feel a little bit more better and rounded out. And then the day after that, gosh, we've been patching so much. Just ABC. A quick bug fixes on this one. The morning before esports started, there was an issue with Mordred's buffs. There was an issue that was introduced where he couldn't use his shoulder charge passive dash after one time. So that was fixed pretty quickly after the Mordred fix. And then that was everything over the weekend, but we've actually got some stuff on the docket to hopefully get out a little bit later today. Is that right, Alex?
Yes. So hotfix, this is our 13th update of this patch. So just a sign that we've been really working hard to make sure this is high quality and whatnot. There's going to be an update going out that went out this morning, I believe, which included fixing the Reaper item stacks not working. You can no longer waste actives while airborne during Mordred ultimates, so you can't Aegis. The tracker for the distance of Neith's World Weaver was fixed. We are working on fixing the Gold Fury achievements not being awarded on any platform. There was a tested fix for it this morning, and I'm not sure if it worked or not, but if not, it'll be hopefully later. Yeah. For consoles, we have a fix that we're working on, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, maybe later this week, to clean up keyboard and mouse support, which I know was something that was a big request on past shows. Like missing mouse cursor on Xbox is an example. It may not be 100% perfect, but should be a lot more usable, so should be good. And incoming, which means we don't have a date, but hopefully later today, maybe tomorrow, we're working on a fix for Amaterasu's ability to that can sometimes deal bonus damage. Yeah. We fixed one of the major causes for it previously, but there was still another one out there that has led to some bad play patterns, I guess you can say. So we will be getting that fixed as soon as we can.
Amaterasu currently disabled, but as soon as that issue's fixed, she'll be right back on.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's a kind of quick rapid fire of all the patches since our last show.
And I will call out, we have a comment in chat that says, please focus the cameras. We are alone today. We are doing our own broadcast entirely. We have nobody helping us. And we tried to focus the cameras as best we could. I'm sorry if we're a little bit out of focus.
It might be a little scuffed.
Yes.
I'm sorry, chat.
It will be less scuffed on Wednesday when we have people who are better at this helping us. So apologies.
All right. Well, we've got Ben here. Shall we get into some eye candy?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah,
right.
Ben, do you want to give people a quick overview of who you are? Or I mean, you used to be on shows a lot back in the day, but you kind of have started to do more and more and gotten busier and busier.
Yeah,
so,
sure. So I'm Ben Knapp. I'm the art director on Smite 2. I was the art director on Smite 1 circa 2018 till now. I've been doing character art for a very long time. Been Hi-Rez for almost 18 years. Yeah. I love making art, and I've been doing it for you guys for a while, and I just want to keep doing that. That's why I'm not on these shows anymore. I'm making the art.
He's focused on making the art.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull up the laptop screen, and we can kind of go one by one. Ben gave us a lot of cool screenshots. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, but I guess the first one we teased out on social media last week because we didn't have a show. Let's talk about Hercules. Hercules coming up in Smite 2.
So
Hercules.
I know that when we were making this one, kind of the goal with the Smite 2 stuff is how do you make it the same as what fans love, but then one up it where it makes sense, right? So it's strictly better.
There you go.
Strictly better.
Not strictly different, right? And that's a hard kind of balance to strike because sometimes that can be subjective or objective based on what you're doing, right? So I know that a lot of people back in the day, we used to have an original OG Hercules. He was a little more swagger, a little more charming. It was when Smite was a little more cartoony, right? So I like that look, and I feel like if you look in kind of a lot of classic statues and stuff that shows Hercules, he's got the long hair and stuff. So I think he had more of a Roman haircut in the update. So I was like, let's bring back that haircut and the overall kind of vibe where it matches more of the statues from back in the day. And also his head's really tiny, and I know people kind of point that out, and there's only so much we can do with these updates, right? I can't change the rig so much, whereas eye locations aren't as mouth locations, but I can change things around that. But there's a delicate balance. You can only go so far. If I make a dude's head 3x the size, and then his eyes and mouth relationship stay the same, it's that looks real freaking weird, right? So you can give and take a little bit. So I was like, how about if we with that moment of adding the hair, it makes his head look bigger, right? So there was just it's not much, but this whole section of Hercules in the past I wasn't a fan of, and I feel like this is an opportunity to kind of one up it.
Yeah, when we teased this out on social media last week, I saw a lot of comments saying, "Oh, it's they mixed the old and the new, and it's a perfect marriage."
That was it. Yeah.
It looks really cool, and I do want to call out all this stuff that we're showing today is work in progress.
Yes.
This is not the final thing. I know Ben's. It's hard to get an hour of Ben's time. He's out here cooking.
There's little things I could point out, but it'd probably bore you all. Like on his hammer, or on the weapon. There's kind of the roughness map is the word for it, but it's too kind of noisy. So we're gonna there's things that can be fine tuned, and we're still working on the way that the hair of his facial hair transitions into his face. We're still working on that. There's a lot of minor things, but this is globally what you're gonna probably get with some minor tweaks.
All right.
I think he's looking really cool. I think it's like you said, it's a good blend of the old and the new. It's it feels like Hercules. And the new gameplay stuff that he has is also kind of interesting, which we'll talk about on a future show.
There we go. Yeah. All right. I think the next one is up on the list.
And so, that was the only one that we're showing today that y'all have seen before.
Right. Yeah.
And the only reason why we teased that out on Friday was because we were supposed to do the show on Friday, and we wanted to be sure that we've fulfilled our promise of saying.
Apologies.
No. I got sick. I'm sorry.
It's all Killgoon's.
But we wanted to make sure you got to see Hercules. So now we're going to be showing you some other upcoming gods. Some of them, I think most of them, we've already said are coming to Smite 2. Maybe there's one or two that are.
I think so. Yeah. Maybe.
So, but just kind of seeing the updates to their models that they're going to be getting, and from our perspective as they come over to Smite 2.
So right, cool. Well, I'm going to pull up the next one. Get ready, chat, for a flashbang. Not really, but we're going to talk about Ra.
Yeah.
Got some updates in Smite 2.
Cool. So Ra is, and these textures are work in progress. I know there were some updates that we just did on Friday to this, but he basically is getting a glow up here. It's the same old. Ra was one of the older ones. Usually when you get these really big changes, that are like massive improvements, they're from these characters that existed like forever ago, like the really early days. So Ra was one that like we know people love Ra. Ra's one of my favorite characters. So we wanted to make sure that we gave him like when we do these edits, we kind of have like a budget of time that we get to work with, right? So like some characters that are like more of the modern characters don't get like they just look great. Like you don't need to really put that budget towards them. So that's where we start carving out like more time for these older guys. So he got a lot more time than most of the other ones. This update's one of the more prominent updates. It's not like Anher level, but it's like probably the next level of like what we would treat like he's not critical, but he's definitely was high on the list for updates.
Absolutely.
So I think we tried to stay true to the original, right?
Yep.
But we try to like just make him look more impressive. Like there's things like the headdress it's reminiscent of the old one, but it's like totally different at the same time. And we also didn't want it to come off like I don't know, too over the top, but also not underwhelming either. So this is kind of like the update we have here. And yeah, I'm digging it.
Yeah, it's just sick. I love the incorporations of the blue hits in this version.
Yeah. You'll notice like to the comments about updates, like on the back of his tabard, there's kind of like this like white gray kind of cloth. That's going to be swapped out for either like a darker red or a blue. So like there'll be even more of those little blue pops.
Yeah, I think this update really makes him feel a lot more like he belongs with the rest of the Egyptian cast. Like Isiah after her update, or the Horison set, newer models, right? It doesn't, it's not like the old Solar Sentinel Ra. It feels much more modern Smite. So
there's a little more seriousness that we did with these two, because like the old Ra, like while he looks similar, like he's like again, he's from that era where it's a little more stylized and more whimsical. Yeah. So more badass.
And I did see chat saying, "Oh, does he walk now?" No, and people were responding in chat. I see Travis is watching. Hi, Travis.
Yo, what up, Travis?
But he is he's still going to float. This is just kind of a default T pose. Yeah.
So when we make models, you make them in a this is an A pose, but it's basically a T pose, because like you just want to have a character in a neutral pose, because then you put a skeleton system, we call it rigging, and you just kind of like, then those are the bones that allow an animator to move the character, right? So whenever we make a character, and anytime I'll probably show something, the character team works in this format. They don't work in a pose.
Yeah.
Right. So he'll come to life. He's gonna have the same animation vibe as the original. Like a lot of these things, we try to respect the same vibe of what was in Smite 1. So like he comes in with mostly the same animations as a starting point, and then we just noodle from there.
Yep. All right, our next one is it's a little bit more early state than the first two that we've shown, but I know Ben has been working a lot on this one. We've been talking a lot about it internally as well, but we've got Poseidon up, and I'm going to move our cameras here so you can see the full thing. The big thing to call out we wanted to talk about was the beard, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've publicly said that Poseidon is officially coming to Smite 2 as part of the first 50 yet, but
surprise.
Confirmed. Poseidon is going to be part of the first 50. He is an iconic Smite character, great mage, somebody that we really need in the game, I think, to get the balance of play styles. But I think one of the big questions was like, how do we update the looks of Poseidon for Smite 2? So
right. So
Chad is saying he's hot, so you're on the right track.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's go. So a lot of it is like we don't. When you see his full body, there's going to be like some of the cloth that he has just is a little more ornate. We don't want to go too different from the character, so like what is his natural look is in Smite 2, we're going to stay pretty on target with that, and then we're just going to kind of like dress up some of like the cloth areas. But for his face specifically, there's like a whole thing where like the presentation is to me I've been wanting to make it better. I think like when you see the beard in pose and stuff, it just didn't land the way that I was hoping we could. I mean, he's an older god, it's like one of those ones where you just kind of gotta work with what you got, but that was where I really want us to focus with here, is like his face and the whole beard presentation and all that stuff. So this is a whole new, you might not notice the difference, because like this is like the build. This is the high poly model. We make a high poly, then make a low poly, and you like bake the detail. So the in-game models, the low poly ones that you guys play as, you'll kind of just see this as texture data. But like if you see the back of his hair, like that's like kind of like not as detailed as the beard. We're gonna be working on that back hair, but that's kind of like the level of the hair was in the past, where it's just kind of, it only has primary
chunkier.
Yeah. It's I could throw a whole bunch of art terms at you, but I'll just say like it just doesn't look. It looks crude. It doesn't look as good as the fidelity of the front stuff. So
there was one very specific art question here. Is this in ZBrush? Is that
this is ZBrush?
Oh,
okay,
nice.
Someone knows their stuff. Yeah, so this is a ZBrush model. We tend to do that for anything organic. If you're doing anything that's hard surface, you can choose ZBrush or Blender or 3D Max. We use 3D Max in house, but yeah, this is ZBrush. So anyways, like the fidelity, we were doing a whole new pass there. Quen Parker is working on this. She's one of our badass
rock star.
Yeah, amazing character artist. So she's also going to do the back a little bit. And do we have the other one?
We do. Okay. So this is as everybody knows who's played Smite 1, right? This is kind of the way Poseidon looks in Smite 1. But one of the things that we've been exploring as we bring him over to Smite 2 is, how should we update the look, if at all?
Yeah.
And Ben had a cool idea. I think it was your idea, right?
I think it was actually Davey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so Davey, our concept artist, had a cool idea. And so they modeled out this alternate version of Poseidon.
Let me see if I have that one.
Oh, do we not have it?
Just making sure.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
But yeah, so we worked on another version of Poseidon, which we may bring up here in a second.
I can run at my desk and get the shot.
I don't see it in here.
Oh no. Okay. I might actually have it on my phone.
If you can message it to me, yeah.
Yes, I will Slack it to you. Do you want to talk just about what it's going to be?
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then I will. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's good. This is like how we do shows, right?
Right, we're doing it live.
Yeah,
it's casual.
So basically, there is like he has the long beard, but it's like some people have been like, man, I wish he could be like a little more attractive, maybe, or separate, different from like maybe like how Zeus is, because like the brothers are Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon,
right?
And Hades looks nothing like Zeus, and that's in a good way. Like he has his own identity. People were kind of like thinking like, man, it'd be nice if he kind of maybe had like a shorter beard. So Davey kind of was just running through, and he just gave him like a nice cleanup on the face, and basically a short beard is what we were kind of looking at. So. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Okay.
1 second,
cool,
chat. I'm getting that for you.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, what do you guys think about like keep the identity of Poseidon with the long, flowy, water-like beard, or a little more cleaned up?
Yeah. And I think Isaiah's still getting it pulled.
Yeah.
Up. Okay.
Just don't want to spoil my private stuff. And drum roll, chat.
Hey,
there we go.
There we go.
And I'm going to hide our cameras here. So, chat, what do y'all think about this version of Poseidon?
Yes. So, short beard. I think it makes him look a little bit, I don't know if younger is the word, but more...
Like modern?
Modern, yeah.
Like he's taking care of himself. It's a date night, you know what I mean? Like,
chat thinks he's hotter, but some people think that they like the big beard better.
Which is fair.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Short better. They're both good. We got a Titan 2 reference.
Oh my
gosh. Yeah. So I think that we were kind of mixed on this internally. We think they're both really cool. So I think we were thinking maybe we would put it out for another community poll.
We can definitely do that. Yeah.
So it seems like chat's pretty heavily long beard here. So maybe we just go with long beard. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe
we'll see. I'll go back. So that's long beard.
Yep. So long beard versus short beard.
Short beard.
What do we think? Yeah, both very cool.
This is one of those moments where it's like I mentioned objectivity and subjectivity and strictly better or strictly different.
Yes.
It's like some people find this strictly better, but it's like other people like, I want the old man beard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, most people are saying the long beard,
Yeah.
it seems like. So
I mean, that's the identity. He's been in Smite for forever, right? That's our Poseidon. So, like, I can see where maybe later on this is like a, we do like a Chippendales, like, kind of.
There you go. Yeah.
You know,
In
like,
the Achilles
yeah,
line.
the Achilles line. Yeah,
Candy shop,
Candy shop
Poseidon.
Poseidon.
yeah.
That's it.
And the Kraken pops out on a pole.
that would
He's
be
got,
hilarious.
he's got the trident.
Yeah, love
there
it.
it is.
Anyway, cool. So that's Poseidon. That's what we had to show on him. And then who do we have next?
Let's take a look. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
It's Sobek.
All right.
Sobek.
And
Okay.
he is looking sick.
So this dude, man, like, I like Sobek a lot. He's like alligator dudes. Alligator's cool. I like Killer Croc from I like comics. I'm like a super comic nerd. So like I was like, we got to make this guy look cool. And so like I've been on Smite for a long time, and again, we had that era that was like the more whimsical, right? And so like we got locked into these proportions with Sobek that were kind of, I'll use the word charming. That's the word I'll use. Like I have another word that's not as nice, but like charming is what I'll say. So he's got this like little kind of like body, but he's this alligator, and I always it's comical, but like at the end of the day, when we transitioned to more of the more serious kind of look for the game, he just kind of always stood out, right? And for me, like as a player, I'm like, yeah, I just don't want to play as this Lollipop Guild version of Sobek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it always felt weird to me, right? So, anyways, as we were kind of, how do we make Sobek better? There's key ones that I've been like, I mentioned there was like critical ones and the kind of nice to have updates like the raw, but this guy was a critical for me. I'm like, if he looks cooler and he plays cooler and he just feels like a giant alligator man, and it has and he's like a tank, right? So it's like he should be menacing and feel bigger, like right. So like I felt all that felt right, and it would be like if I'm a player that's like on the fence to play Sobek based on visuals, I want to like put you into a place where you want to play the character, not like you're just looking at him like what is wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? So he was probably besides Anher, him and Anher were like my top 2 contenders for must-have updates. And so basically we changed him a good bit, but we're making sure the camera and like the animations where he's like hunched over are as close as possible to the old ones, but he is going to be a little bit bigger. But this is one that I've been wanting for a long time, and I literally was like, I will quit my job if you do not let me do this, right? Like this, I gotta give me one, right? So basically it's the same armor, same vibe as the old one, just a little bit like, I don't know, more cooler looking.
Yeah,
you know?
He just looks at, and Ben, we can go through some of these screenshots here, but we've got like the Smite 1 versus Smite 2 comparison for sure.
I will just give you the props from chat. Apparently, Tail Lover is watching.
Tail Lover,
says,
nice.
You did a great job on the tail. So
Tail Lover, you are we do a whole thing where it's like, is Tail Lover going to be okay with this?
Yeah.
All the time. You're like an inside name here at the studio.
Yes,
for sure.
So, appreciate the support.
Legendary.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So I'm gonna pull up the screenshot. This is Smite 1, Ben. So just talk to me a little bit about how we took this and
so hunched.
This looks even cooler than the OG, right? So like, he's just like it's like his legs are so small, and like I don't want to keep bashing them. I feel bad already, right? Like I'm a short dude too. I get it, but like
short king,
his headdress proportions, I feel like were kind of too big for like his head, and like the arms, like it has like a toy kind of like proportional thing to it, right? So it's like the bracers are really big. It just really, if you just like kind of block off the upper body from the lower body, like like they just look like they belong to two different. Like it's like a child and like an adult. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of vibe.
Skip's leg day.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't look as bad, maybe from like the side view, like in the front, like the two on the right, like they don't look as bad, but like that back view is like his leg looks like they don't even exist, and like the front view is like, I don't know. Do we have a Derpules kind of like skin, for Hercules? And I was like, there's probably going to be a derp line for this guy for me, is how I looked at it,
Sure. And then this is Smite
back.
2.
Okay, so like you can see that like they don't look that different, right? They it's crazy because like he's so much bigger,
right?
But we tried to really make sure that like the vibe of him stayed true to kind of like the OG. So like he does have like still some smaller legs, but they're longer than they were before, right? So in this shot here, this is me trying to sell this. Like back in the day, I like went and like, this is no rigging support. I just like, I think I might have had Brett, one of our rigging guys, kind of help with that. But like there was like me just on a one-man army. I'm gonna like show everyone we need to do this by like taking the old model and adjusting it and retrofitting it to an old rig, but then changing the rig. It's a lot of technical art stuff that I did there, but like it's basically like I wanted to sell everyone. So things here though aren't fully good. Like his eyes in the front view are like really narrow and they feel kind of weird. They look a lot better in like the final product.
Yes. All right, and then we have a comparison graphic.
Yeah. So like this is like look
Smite 1 on the left, Smite 2 on the right.
He looks like Mario jumped on his head like, on the left. You know what I mean? The right one's like the appropriate size, and that's the thing that's crazy. It's like the two shots we looked at were in pose. They don't look that different, really, right? So like that was the goal. We wanted to make sure that like I know I want to be selfish with this guy, but I also don't want the players to be like, this feels wrong. This feels
Right,
bad.
yeah.
Like gameplay wise, now this ability doesn't like read well because he's too tall, right?
Chat says this is 5'11" versus 6 foot.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, Sobek is looking good. I want to go back and just show off
Yeah, the actual in-game
yeah,
Smite 2
yeah.
kind of finished product.
with the
Yes.
lighting and everything. He just looks so good.
Yeah, he looks his little homie alligators that
Yep.
come into like they got a little bit of an upgrade too.
Nice.
Yep.
This is looking good. So I think we have one more before we get into like Q&A with Ben before we show off, and this is another exciting one.
Yes.
Another iconic character to the Smite universe.
Yes.
Drum roll, please. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
We've got Thor.
Thor.
let's go. Okay. So we did a lot of internal things with Thor to try to be like, how can we make him like more? How do I say this? Like when he was first made, is like he had. I don't want to say we're trying to be like a superhero game, you know, but like we kind of, I'm sure we're inspired a little bit by like other interpretations of
Exactly.
Thors that exist,
Yeah.
right? Because we want to make sure it's like aligned with what people expect for a Thor. I think when we
Can
did.
you turn our cameras off?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
absolutely. Boom.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think with that though, like when we saw like what we did with Loki, and Loki went through a whole iteration where he was like a serpent dude in the way it was cool, right? But like he just seems different than the current Loki. So like when you look at Loki and Odin and Thor together, I think as times progressed, like Loki and Odin have got those updates, and they look distinctly Norse. You know, and they have a certain look where those two vibe together. Whereas when I would see Thor next time, like he still felt Norse, but he felt more superhero like vibe versus like actual Norse guys. So like he always stood out to me, and I was like, how do we not have that happen? How do we make it so whenever you play as like a team of these Norse guys and got Odin, Loki, and Thor on the same team, they all feel like they're from the same family tree, right, and the same vibe.
Yeah.
So
more Uller kind of
yeah,
deal as well.
exactly. So we did a whole bunch of iterations, and as we did those, it was like we lost who he was at the same time. So it's like, how do you kind of like thread the needle there, where you kind of have the old look, but then it's also modern. I don't know, modern is the word, but like, you know, updated to match the kind of Norse feel. So
Right.
basically, we were like, we gave him his hair. His head looked weird.
Yeah.
His head.
He had a weird kind of
he
like
had
bob going
yeah,
on.
Yeah, It was just interesting. He had like a chin strap kind of beard thing, and it's like, you know, we just want to give him a little bit more ruggedness and match more of that warrior kind of vibe that he is. So like we adjusted the hair a little bit. It's similar, but it's different. And then we were like, let's add some like fur. Really is what we kind of add to just kind of update things, like adding fur in the boots that are like, there was some fur before but it wasn't as prominent,
Yeah.
but fur in the boots, fur on the collar, and then we added a strap and like a couple of metal bits just to add more presence there, and that also broke up the bodysuit vibe. When I
Right.
keep saying superhero, I don't mean like comic superhero. I mean like he just had like a bodysuit basically with details. So like adding just some more like kind of interesting bits and bobs to him, while then retaining the rest of it. I think there was a couple of proportional updates, and when I say proportional, I don't mean like length of the arms change, just like the girth, like kind of like the width of the volumes themselves got updated. So there's a thing I do on all these characters. I go through, and I just do this gut check to be like, this my spider sense tingle when I look at them. If something feels off, I can't maybe just describe what it is initially, but I'd be like, something's wrong with this, and then I try to diagnose what that is. He went through all the checks to make sure that he felt really good. So like to me, I'm and his cape got an update too.
Yeah. I saw someone in chat saying the cape looks perfect.
Yeah. We one of our artists, Greg Britt, worked on that. He's a badass. And we didn't initially have that in the concept. We just were like, it was like a normal kind of cape with like some of the, you know, Norse kind of what are those?
Runes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, like the patterning thing.
Yeah,
right,
Yeah. But yeah, Greg was like, let me try the pattern that goes into an actual Thor hammer, and I was like, oh shit, Mjolnir.
it was good.
That's
Great.
cool. So yeah, it's super good update, I think.
There's a lot of good touches on him too, right? Like the gauntlet for holding Mjolnir
Oh,
from
yeah.
lore, which is good touch. You know?
Yeah. And so the gauntlet, I think we were gonna just scrap it because it's there's so many internal things you guys don't know about. Like there's like, it's not good for rigging because the hand in Smite 1 is a different. It is like the gauntlet, but it's proportionally much bigger. And then if things aren't symmetrical, that just makes it so you can't like copy and paste things. It causes problems basically. from modelers and for rigging people. So with this one, we took the I think he got an update with like the wedding dress Thor at one point. That hand got a real, because there's no gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
So like, it'd be really weird if you had a giant hand and then like a little hand on the other side. So we just kept the same proportional relationship as that. So for the internal team, it's going to be way easier to like work on the hand, which you guys probably don't care about. But for us, this is like, yes, huge win. We're all like celebrating when we get wins like this.
And then the other thing chat called out was the eyes, right? I think we're going for kind of the lightning eyes again.
Yeah.
And then in the final, this is just the model. Are there going to be like some FX lightning kind of things going on around the eye area?
I would say probably yes.
Okay.
We want him to feel imbued with power, right? So like he's like got a lightning and stuff like that. Like we don't want to just look like there's no lightning anywhere on him, right? So that was kind of a way to kind of do that. And I think the only thing with like the lightning like effects would be careful of is just his hair is really close to his face. Yeah. So like you have like penetration and stuff like that, or like we just need to make sure it looks good. But I'm sure the effects team will kill it when they get to it.
Yeah, looks so sick.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for Thor and Smite too.
Yeah, he's
coming up in the first 50. I know, Ben, you've been doing so much work on all these gods. It's been really cool to see.
It's cool because this one, I like this one a lot because it's like it's the goal. Like I said, it's my goal with these things is like I want to make changes, but I want you guys to know it. Mm-hmm. I just want you guys to be like, this looks dope, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to feel like it changed at all, because that way it may not be the one you wanted or whatever, right? But if I can make the changes so it feels just like what you remember, but like I made changes that you just don't realize it because I'm jingling the keys everywhere else, right? Like that's a win for me. And so a lot of these you kind of won't notice what we did to update it, but we made updates to everybody. And this one is just a little more in your face, and yeah, like it's cool when you can kind of be like, hey, look at me, I actually did some things that you can appreciate this time,
It's looking great. Well, I believe that is all of our kind of eye candy for today, but we've got about 30 minutes left, so feel we can just open it up for Q&A chat.
Yeah.
Have any questions for us or any questions for Ben on the art side? We're here for the next half hour or so to talk.
Yeah, and I would say, because we have Ben, if you have any art specific questions, and if you want to get real into the minutia, like Ben will go there with you.
Oh yeah. We can go on a journey if you want. You just let me know.
I would say that the questions that would not be good to ask is X God getting a new model right now?
Yeah.
I think that would take up the rest of our time just saying yes or no to every God. Probably not the right approach for the rest of this.
You're going to have to like put your hand on my mouth because I might say something.
No, that's okay. You can say
no. Now's not the time.
No, you can't. It's just chat can get overwhelmed with asking the question.
Sure.
And then there's a question, matchmaking when? So I want to talk just about our schedule for the next couple of guests.
Yep.
So on Wednesday, we'll have Clumsy join us. And Clumsy's going to be talking about bringing God into Smite 2 and specifically Donzaburo's kind of kit changes and the way they approach those. So that should be interesting. And then next Monday, Max will be on to talk about matchmaking. And we should have a pretty substantial update to our matchmaking to talk about at that time. And we're still locking down who Friday's guest is going to be.
Yep.
But just giving you the quick show update. And then now I think it's time to start answering some questions. So go for it, Isiah. Let's pick one.
Let's see here. I see a question about Duel. So we've talked about Joust coming in, targeting for January. Duel will be along that same thing, played on the same map that Joust is going to be played on. So.
Yeah, and we were talking actually this morning about whether that should be treated as though it's a full ranked mode, or is it more of a casual mode, or is it somewhere in between? Because, it's important for like the high level duel players to be able to show off like I'm a top whatever duel player, but we think that it's such a competitive queue because of that being there's no casual version, and we don't have a big enough player base to split it, that maybe there's a world where there's some kind of a hybrid where you don't really see your rank until you get to a certain level or something, but definitely things that we're talking about.
Yeah. Cool. I see a question here. Just curious about the process since we're in alpha right now. Will guides currently in the game get another pass down the line just to clean up visuals and add some more polish?
So I think an artist, like we're told we have a timeline. You could tell me work on a model and I could say it's not done and it'll be 2 years later. So like I'm always down to make improvements pending like that's warrant the team the fans, the community wants that. We always have those discussions. Like usually when we do updates, it's because there's a clamoring from the community that says we want this, right? We have to be mindful of what we can and can't do. We can't just give you everything, right? But like we try to like work with what we have and see if like any updates that are requested are something that we can actually work on and give you guys based on what we have to work with internally. Like there's rigs and stuff like that in animations we have to stick to. But anyways, we're always open to doing updates. Some of the ones that are the first character that was made for Smite 2 is definitely probably gonna get a polish pass at the very end, but to match everything here.
Yeah.
My goal right now is just to make sure that everybody that you see when you play Smite 2 is like same level quality, right? So like as we get the newest ones are going to be better than the oldest ones. I can't say adamantly that we're going to go through every single one of them, but like if one of them feels out of place once we get the full lineup, we'll definitely want to make some edits along the way.
Yeah. Cool.
There's somebody's been asking about turning off controller vibration in the menu, which is not a setting that we have, but one we should probably add.
Yeah.
So we can should be an easy thing to do. We'll take a look into it.
Add it to the list.
Yep.
I see another question. What types of gods require the most visual work? Is it the big boys or characters with like flowy clothing and capes and stuff like that?
Oh man, that's such a...
It's a loaded question.
It's such a variable thing,
Yeah.
right? Probably the most work is when there's like functional things, like someone like I don't know how to define work, right? Is it like detailing? Like if you have like a very detailed character with tons of stuff everywhere, that takes a lot of time, and so it's a lot of work, right? It's fun work, it's busy work, but it's just time. I think the ones that are the hardest are like the technical ones, where you have a lot of like technical constraints, so you can't just make something. Like someone like Cerberus to me is like awesome to make, and like when I'm like sculpting, because I'm just making a dog that has like he's a creature.
Yeah,
creature's the best because you
boy.
just. Yeah, you don't have to worry about like really armor so much, and like you just kind of make organic details. It's like you just take a blob of clay basically, and you just sculpt on it. It's super fun and like therapeutic for me. But his heads are like rigged a certain way in the low poly model where you have to like line up the face to a certain. There's like a whole process we have where there's like a dummy bone, like this is like a tech term, but like there's like a proxy object that you kind of use for your alignment for like the heads, and you have to make sure that like each of those three heads are like proxy aligned to this dummy bone, and if you don't, then it like messes up stuff for rigging. So it's like something like that's like not hard, but it's like a very technical thing that if you mess that up, it's like that's a challenge, right? So I'd say like anything that like me as an artist, anything that breaks me from doing the art, they have to be like technical about it. That's always going to be something that's challenging.
Yeah. Let's see here. Warrior Type asked, I know cosmetics are further down the pipeline, but are there plans to have better defined skin thematics and narratives rather than generic skins?
I always love like when we do lines, if we had like the Shadow Spirit stuff. I think I like did the very first one, and I was like, dude, we gotta do a whole like a whole
There's
world
nothing like
of
having
this.
a full team with one skin line.
I love doing that stuff. I think the one thing I've always wanted to add more specific narrative stuff to that, right? I feel like one of the things that, like me personally, I love lore and stuff like that. I love like games that are like single player experiences that have just tons of stuff to like just dig into. I this is my feedback on Smite too. I want to have more like, I don't know, like MoGraph things or like more things that bring the lore, because like right now if you go into like the events and there's like a lore page, it's like reading a book. It's just tons of text. I read through images, man. You know, like, this is like a comic
give
book
me some
kind of
motion
thing.
comics.
Yeah, you know, like give me something, dude. So like I'm like, dude, like if people got to like have something, even if that was like something visual, that would be such a great win, I think. And you know, I think some people internally have talked about this, but having some sort of narrative along the lines of the skins, I would love to do that too. But I would think that would be like kind of weird if we didn't do that globally, like at the Smite 2 lore level, but and had it to skins. But I'm all for it, man. Like we do a lot of Easter eggy things that you can kind of see like in card art, where it's like if there's like a snow ones, right? Or like pool party ones, right? And it's like all the homies are like in the background chilling from like all the lines. So we roughly, like in our minds, we want to do that, right? It's just like where's the platform to kind of add that narrative? But I mean, if y'all want that, just keep telling us, right? Like I'm one of you. I'm with it, you know.
And I would say the one just kind of like behind the scenes like risk of going too hard on a specific like theme. Just one example from Smite's history. Internally, we were really excited about a theme. I think we ended up calling Biohacker. And we did several skins in the theme, and we were like, this is going to be really cool. People are going to want to buy it. You know, we come out with it, and it completely flopped. Nobody bought those skins. And if we tie all of our skins for an update to a specific theme, and then it doesn't hit, then we run the risk of not making any money.
Okay,
right?
So I might have misunderstood.
No. So I think there's two angles to it, right? I think there's
you want to diversify for sure.
Yeah. So I think that like that's why we have always tried to diversify within a patch, where it's like there's always something for everyone, and we can hit on some of those less popular themes that we still think are cool, and not have a whole patch riding on it. Whereas, like, I think we also should do a better job of building out like the story around these themes in bigger events.
Yeah, so. Let me just say, like, when I was talking about that, my thing is like I never think a patch should just be one.
Yes.
Like all in one, and that's not because you put all the eggs in one basket. It's just because I want to. One of my goals, I'm really loud about this at work, is like I want to make sure there's a skin for everybody. Yeah. Like there's going to be a skin that you may hate, that I'm not doing for you. I'm doing it for another person that's gonna love it, right? And there's a lot of other lines that were like not just that biohacker one, the Kali biohacker is my favorite Kali skin.
It's good,
super good.
Nobody bought it, but it's good.
Well, like the artistry is amazing. It's so good, and the design's great. I'm just like I don't get it. There was also like a dystopian one that had like I remember like Uller had like this really cool like green kind of duck head.
Yeah.
And like
Travis loves those.
Like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of like creepy vibe, right? And then it's just got like this wasteland.
Funpocalypse.
Yeah, Funpocalypse.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love Funpocalypse. I don't know if people shared that.
They never sold as well as we thought they were going to.
Yeah.
But we kept liking them, so we kept making more of them.
That's probably my fault, right?
I'm
like, it's good. 80 a check. 80 a check. We're good.
Cool. This one was asked a while ago, but I thought it was a good question. How do you go about modeling to avoid clipping for the animators in the future?
Oh, I feel like that's an animator in disguise. Is like type. It's Rusty. He's like, listen,
somebody's smart account.
Answer this, buddy. Okay, so it's tough because like any asset you see when I say asset, it's like a character. Basically, anything that goes through the art pipeline is touched by like many hands. There's like multiple departments. There's a concept, modeling, rigging, animation, effects, tech art. That's the broad strokes there. And so usually the ones that affect that the most is like, first off, if the concept sets you up for success and tries to make sure there's not areas like you have to think like a person that animates, that thing's going to be in motion, right? So I mean, if you see this Thor, this is like a spoiler alert for like the animators. His hair is kind of clipping a little bit through that fur, so we may need to like. And it looks fine, right? It looks fine, I think. But like when that's in motion, we're gonna have to see how it looks, and like if the fur needs to come down a little bit, or if the hair needs to go up a little bit. So we'll massage things like that. I'd say it's a video game. I mean, if you play like Street Fighter, it'll be like the winning scene where like dude does like a crazy pose and like the hair is just going through his face. Like video games, man. Right, if you have like we have simulation in Smite 2. Guess what? That stuff's going to be crazy sometimes.
Oh, yes.
I can't control physics, man. It's gonna do what it's gonna do, But like, there are going to be times where we do try to like consider all these things when we get into it, and then just along the way, we just like we also want to balance cool factor. So if it's like this isn't going to move properly, and I'm trying to model it to a place where I know it's going to work well for movement, and then I'm like, but if I do this, it's going to be cooler.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, shit, which one do I do? You know what I mean? And so for me, I'm always going to try to aim for cooler and then try to see just how it goes. We do a thing called a pen audit, a penetration audit. And so basically we have like a rough mesh that we then put on the rig and test the animations against. It's not the final model. It's like a quick thing that we do before we go in. So we can at least like point out the areas where there are going to be those penetration problems. And then we just kind of like diagnose like options and solutions at that point. And sometimes we're just like, look, that's acceptable. Like, I am 100% cool with penetration on the record, that if the hair goes through this guy's something for like 1 second and you don't notice it, like if his arm goes up and his hair flops this way and then comes through and it's like 1 second, I'm cool with that. It's a video game, If he's standing there and the hair is just chilling in his arm for like an extended period of time, it's noticeable and it's distracting. That's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of like also taste tested those kind of things, but yeah, the way you model to animation is just to be considerate, right, and just think of where it's going to go. So
cool. All right, I see an alley-oop, just because I know we've talked about it internally, but with Mulan's mysterious warrior becoming her official skin, have you all given more thought about using lore-accurate skins from Smite 1 as the default models for gods in Smite 2? Erlang Shin would be the biggest question for most people with his Regal Warrior skin.
That's literally the plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good alley-oop.
Yes.
Thanks for asking the question. But yeah, that's the plan. So it's a little bit of a spoiler for Erlang Shin whenever we get to
And
him.
I don't believe Erlang Shen is in the first 50, so it'll be a little while. But definitely something we're aware of. And if there's other gods who have other lore-accurate skins who you think are better fitting for the god, please let us know, and we'll take a look at it.
Absolutely, yeah. I know we did there was a period in time where we did a lot of those in Smite 1. Where they were like the tier 2s, but a little bit more lore accurate. So
there's also like moments where fans are like, wait, Hades, why does he got some bone staff? Where's the bident, dude? Right? And I didn't know about that. That's discredit on me. But Alex was like, yo, these people want a bident. It's in the lore. He literally you're gonna have King Arthur just rocking a regular sword? Because that's cool.
It's actually just King Arthur with a dagger. Typical weapon for him. But I think we always do try and walk the line of how do you do the Smite version of the thing while being true to the lore, though, right? Because Hades is one that comes up a lot in the community where people are like, no, he should be just not to exaggerate, but kind of a boring looking human dude with a bident, right? And it's that's not ours. It's not ours, right?
But we'll still give a bident that looks cool. Right?
Yeah. One question that has come up, I think it's the same guy asking the question over and over, but it reminds me of a story, so I'm gonna call it.
Here we go.
Guan Yu / Lancelot motorcycle skin win. So back when we were doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collaboration, I was pushing really hard for a Casey Jones Guan Yu that hopped on the motorcycle for the ult. I was like, that would be so cool. But turns out that turning a horse into a motorcycle is a tremendous amount of work.
And a motorcycle, is you ask what was a challenging thing, things that are machined and have moving parts. Those are always, he's just use the game version, just the wheels, so it's not that bad. But it's if there's moving stuff, that can be challenging. A motorcycle is a very complicated model to make. So it's also time part of the enemy too.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that's come up in the past. Maybe one day we'll get to it, but definitely a good idea, and the way we've been thinking too. So,
another thing too is this is something I'm just a lot of times when I'm looking at stuff, I throw ideas to these guys, hey, I'm thinking I want to make these changes, right? Someone pointed out that Amaterasu, she has the magical treasures, but her sword is kind of like a katana kind of vibe versus the sword she's supposed to have in the lore. And I do want to make that change. But anytime it changes, you gotta mess with a lot of stuff, right? It's not just the art, in the model. Now the card art has to change, and we got bandwidth for the card art and stuff like that. So
animations and combat timings.
You guys asked a question about going back to older gods. That's one where I'm she's pretty recent, but I'm that's a great point. We should really give her that sword, and she has it. I think in her whenever her tier 2 skins. I think
maybe.
I think she has that sword. So it's as simple as bringing that over and then polishing it, but then updating it. But that's a moment where it's we want it more lore accurate, because the fans want that kind of stuff, and it's an update to the character. But it comes at the cost of time, and we got 100 of these dudes to get it out the game. So,
there's a Smite 1 question in chat. And this is more of a Smite 2 show, but I did want to mention we fixed something in Smite 1 this morning. Some of you called out that Match of the Day wasn't working over the weekend. We just have to manually update it every so often, and the person whose calendar it was on the meeting fell off or whatever to do it. So that should be fixed now, and Match of the Day should be fixed going forward.
Cool. I see a lot of people asking about Kali and when it comes to model updates. Have we thought about Kali at all yet?
It's I would counter ask. What are you guys looking for with a Kali update? Because I know when I did my cursory glance through all the gods and stuff, and she looks pretty good. So when people say they want an update, my question then is is it some sort of lore update? Is it some sort of outfit change, or is it a fidelity issue? And so usually whenever I do my first round, I'm trying to stay true to what the god looks like. So I look for fidelity, and she's pretty good. Like she had a change not, I don't know, maybe like 2017 or something. Like there was an update, and like it's pretty good. So I just ask, like, what are you looking for?
It seems like more scary, less hot, more monster, more visceral. In her lore, she's dressed up by her bones, the head she holds, that kind of like, seems like more like skulls and bones, and like give it the Chuck pass is kind of what they're saying. So
I remember talking to Chuck about Kali a long time ago, and he was commenting on people's criticism of our in-game interpretation. He's like, like she's like a naked chick, and a lot of like the images that he looked up, right? So it's like this is where it gets hard, where it's kind of like, okay, like say I add bones, right, and it's like more lore accurate to like a version someone's seen, then another person's like, but that's not my Kali, or like I don't like bones. Like I think we were gonna try to go to like we were going to try to have more of a presence in China at the time, and I think like they don't let you even do bones.
Yeah,
like you just can't do that stuff, right?
And that's not something that like is restricting our designs at all now. Just to be clear, but like back when we did that, I think that was part of it.
We can look at it. I mean, I could definitely put it on the list of seeing where a concept artist will go with it, and then just kind of seeing like if it feels like it's passing the test, and then run it by like the top dogs and see what happens. But I would say that one to me is not Sobek level critical, right? Yes. Like, so I'd say if we get through the critical ones, and then there's some time to have nice to haves, we could probably take a look at it.
Yeah, good question. Let's see here. Do you plan on changing the dark blue background found on the God page, leading like the God loading screen, like the God lobby?
Are you like the
yes.
Hecate one?
No, he's talking about like in the Gods tab, where it's just blue right now, and you guys are working on that new like environment based background. Like they haven't seen any of that yet.
Like the God view.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So like we're trying to come up with more of like, if in Smite 1 there's kind of like a background presentation. We're trying to do something like that. We're still working with what we got right now, but like we have a pretty good plan in place, and it might be nice to kind of show that. As
maybe for a future show.
We have some concept art drawn up, and we have one of our artists that's a really good, like, he can handle everything. Saman, he doesn't like being like, he doesn't like me talking about it. He's like, I don't exist. Like,
no, you're taking these kudos.
Like, they're coming. But he's kind of working with UI these days. He's one of our best modelers. He's in like a lot of the original models. Him and Jerry and Dave. So basically, he's working on just handling that whole presentation. I need to check in with him, because it was like a couple weeks ago we were at a place where that was getting updated. But we do want to do a whole proper lobby presentation. We don't want it to be just ambient like space.
All right. There's one question just about like the timeline of the gods.
I was going to pull that one up.
I was just going to reiterate. So the next update will have Hercules and Danzaburo, and that'll be in probably about 2 weeks from now.
I think it's tentatively scheduled for October 29th. Is that update?
Yeah, and it may end up coming out a little bit earlier, but that's the date that's currently on our calendar. If it's done earlier, we'll ship it to you guys earlier. And then after that patch, we're going to start speeding up. There'll be at least 3 gods in the update after that, but maybe more. We'll see how it goes. And I don't want to give you the exact list of gods right now, because that's more subject to change based on how far they are. But Hercules and Danzaburo in the next update, and then we'll start speeding up from there. We're in the final 5 minutes.
We're in the final 5.
We got to get some good last questions here before we wrap up today. Let's see. This person keeps spamming about the frog god Hecate, which I've never heard of the frog god Hecate. But I like frogs. So
who doesn't like frogs?
Yeah, it could be cool to put a frog god in Smite 1.
I love the frog Danzaburo skin
Yeah.
in Smite 1. That'd be sick.
Apparently, Hecate is Lermy's goat,
okay.
according to Lermy in chat. So maybe she'll be championing that for the
There
future.
you go.
What pantheon is this?
It must be Egyptian if it's
Yeah, it
Hecate.
must be, yeah.
No, and don't worry about spamming. We just get so many questions coming in quickly, and we're trying not to just stare at chat. So sometimes we miss things. So don't feel bad about that at all. There was a question about when are we going to be able to move the HUD/the map?
Yeah.
So the HUD editor is something that the new HUD for Smite 2 was designed with the idea of a HUD editor in mind. We have the ability to do HUD editing on our internal build, so we have the tech there, but it's just not it's not very good yet.
Yeah.
It's not very user friendly. It's something that is on our to-do list, but I would say it's less important in the near term than a lot of other things that we need to get done. So I would say, maybe we're still at least a couple months away from having a public version of HUD editor, but we understand that it's a big concern for people. You want to be able to move stuff around and rearrange it. Everything was designed to be in components that can be moved and scaled and transparency changed, on console as well as PC. So should be great for y'all once we get it over the finish line here.
Yeah. Is the badge to show our stars on our gods in Smite 1 bugged, or would it be possible to have the same layout as on Smite 1 in Smite 2?
So there's two parts to that question. It is bugged, but the layout part is not super bugged. Mm-hmm. So the big difference is that the shape of the badge in Smite 2 is a circle versus a square.
Yeah.
So in making a square of the stars, just looked weird when we did it that way at first. So we changed it to be this spiraling spiral of stars. That we're probably going to stick with the spiral. There may be some individual positioning that's a little bit off that we're still tweaking. The thing that's bugged is I believe it is showing the wrong mastery level for some people, where it's showing you at a higher mastery level in Smite 2 than you actually were in Smite 1. But that's known, and I believe that's being addressed.
Yep. Let's see.
There's a question that we've gotten before, but I'll hit on it real quick while you're looking. Will older kits be reworked to incorporate the interact key? So I think the answer is where it makes sense. We've tried using the interact key on some of the kits that we've brought over. So at some of our early playtesting in Jingwei, you had to interact with it if you were Jingwei to knock yourself up. For Yamoja, there was an interact with the water portal to go through it, but it just didn't feel quite right. So I think that if there's an area where it makes sense to add interact key functionality, we'll definitely do it. I think the interact key in general is feeling better now that we've got that kind of lockout around jumping if you have something interactable. We'll look at it, but definitely not something we're trying to force into everybody's kit if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I saw someone asking about victory defeat animations in the post-match lobby. Is that something we're thinking about for Smite 2?
No, so we're working on a new post-match presentation right now, but the victory defeat animations are not part of that design. I know there are certain people in the community who really do like those and feel very passionately about them, but even over the years in Smite 1, they kind of have been de-emphasized in that end match screen. You don't really see them very much anymore. We find that most people click off of them instantly to go look at the stats anyway. And it was just putting too much focus on the wrong things. There are also a lot of work to bring over and do. And we're not opposed to doing work when it makes sense. But beyond the percentage of the player base that is very sentimental about them, and we definitely understand that, it's not as important to the overall feel of the game, I would say.
I want to or lose a match, I want to see my stats. Right?
Yeah,
that's what kind of everyone was doing. So I think that's the biggest reason why we did the shift.
Yes. So the newer presentation, I don't know if it's going to be in CA4 or CA5, but we are working on that. So that should be good.
Yeah, coming in soon.
One thing that people aren't asking about, but I don't know if you can talk about it a little bit, but I know that we're continuing to work on the lighting for the game, and I believe there's another big lighting pass coming soon.
Yeah, so there's the lighting is there's a lot of things where we'll adjust one thing over here and that affects 6 things over here and this affects 4 things over here, and all of a sudden you have inaccuracies all over the place. You have to make adjustments. But yeah, we're doing another lighting pass on mostly a little bit in Conquest. In Arena, we're definitely doing a pass. You guys might not notice it. The goal is with everything. It's I don't want you guys to really notice it. I just want things to look good. Yeah. I just want it to be okay, this doesn't look wrong, right?
Yes.
So there is going to be a quick update on things, and with that too, once we get this lobby that we were talking about, the background, the presentation we were talking about, that's also going to get a quick lighting pass as well. So yeah, we're definitely going to be making some updates to the lighting, and we'll probably keep doing that along the way until we probably even into when we get live or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we have reached
our
Time,
hour.
shot clock's over.
Yeah, the shot clock's done. I want to thank Ben for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ben. It was really awesome having you on.
Yeah, if you guys want me to come over more often, like anytime, I'm
sure if you keep on bringing more eye candy like you did today, the chat's gonna love
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that.
And then we will have, as I said earlier, Clumsy's going to be on Wednesday to talk Don Saburo and the process of bringing a god over. And then Friday guest is TBA, and then next Monday will be Max to talk about matchmaking. So get your questions ready, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Absolutely, yeah. And we should have patch notes out for the updates that we talked about at the very top of the show with some bug fixes coming out today. So just keep an eye on all of our official social media channels for news about live patches, news about Titan Talks, and news about everything else Smite related. So until then, chat, thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you on the next edition of Titan Talk on Wednesday. Peace out, everybody.